do the intro?
Welcome to Creative Chronicles, a Mediterranean Fire production. I'm your host, Biba Sheik, and our co-host is Ed Gardner, the filmmaker and producer. And we're very happy that you're joining us this evening. So we're going to try to have a good time, and let's get rolling with our journey.
And we had another guest scheduled for this evening, and he was going to call in from France, right?
Yeah, from France.
From France. And he had some medical problems, so he's not going to be here. So we're going to pivot and do a totally different show than what we planned tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And we have an upcoming event here that we're doing that Biba is putting together. And so we're going to talk about that. And I'm basically going to interview Biba tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So hang on to your seats. Here we go.
Okay.
So you're doing this summit.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we start by you talking a little bit about what the intention of the summit is? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what's it about?
Yeah. It started as healing arts summit where people could discover many forms of ways to find peace, to find wisdom and clarity, especially in times of crisis, and to offer them many different avenues of that. So to have an overview where people could experience all of these. So that's how it started. And then a very important point was that art itself, in the time we live in, is kind of getting shuffled off to the side. A lot of times it's not understood. Like, I think a couple decades before our time, people understood more that art was healing, that it has great healing powers, and to be an artist or a performer or a musician or a poet or some kind of creator is in itself a process of deep transformation that can shift, assemblage points within a person and liberate them from many things, and it's almost like the psychic portion of themselves becomes a higher receptive things that they touch upon.
So art's a superpower.
It is a superpower,
and everybody
yes.
has it.
And it's a feminine power too.
And it's an expression. Like, I believe, I'm an artist. I'm a filmmaker. I play music.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the way I look at it, and I watch my children growing up, all three of them are artistic. I think art is native to being human.
Mm-hmm.
I think all humans are artistic, and they just demonstrate it in different mediums.
Mm-hmm.
Music's a medium, theater's a medium, dance is a medium, gardening is a medium, cooking is a medium.
Mm-hmm.
It's all medium.
When we look at people as if we like the artist Joseph Beuys, who said every man is an artist, and every man thus has the right to choose and to sculpt his or her environment. And this notion of Joseph Beuys has led to a word called social sculpture. And so in European countries, for example, when, like, with all of these ecological movements that are happening right now, they are going to government buildings and, you could say, protesting if you want. But what's going on really is they're very conscious of it being a social sculpture. They're looking at each other in the eyes as they're doing it, and they're going out together, and the feeling they have is of creating something, of sculpting their environment, you know, for their children and for the earth itself and for all beings, not just for human
So
beings.
protest and politics, by extension, is another art form. The person going to those protest marches and protesting is sculpting their environment.
Yeah, I haven't thought about like if there's a limit to that, if like at some point it becomes something else than being a social sculpture. But right now, the difference between, for example, an insurrection and a social sculpture. I don't know if an insurrection is a social sculpture with bad taste. I have no idea. I haven't really thought about it, but I know that the difference between protest and a movement or a social sculpture is that there's something more creative and playful and bright and celebrative about it, even though some people think that it's going to be the end of the world and the end of the existence of Earth, like extinction. The way they're manifesting their concern is in a very loving way.
But the
Yes.
thing about protests, like I've been to many protests in my
Yeah.
life. I lived through the Vietnam War.
Mm-hmm.
It's a matter of like calling it a protest or calling it a rebellion or calling it an insurrection. That doesn't happen on the street where people are. That happens in the media or in the comments of people who aren't there, depending upon their position that they're commenting from.
That could be, yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And, like in America, for example, if it's a conservative, they're going to call it one thing, and if it's a radical, they're going to call it another thing.
But with the social sculpture,
you may be asking what this has to do with the summit. We'll get back to that in a minute.
Yes. Yes. What was I going to say? Sorry. We are talking about the social sculpture. Social sculpture is it goes with some definitions. One of them is the notion of sacrifice. It's it's having felt something. It's coming from a feeling. It's like most of the people that I've met that are in the ecological movements that are like social sculptures have received the information, for example, from certain reports about really the real situation, how dire it is from scientists, when you have scientists talking to you.
But those things aren't secret. That's not like secret information.
Yeah, but we weren't being told. It's just this year that even on the news they're talking about climate change, and that's thanks to the social sculptures of Europe, actually, because it didn't happen as much in the United States. That climate change is even getting into the news.
But that's not because of American scientists not having access to the information or key people not speaking out. There's been people speaking out for the first Earth Day happened in America. I used to live in the town where it was created.
Yeah.
This has been going on since the 70s. People have been talking about this. Most of the people protesting today weren't born when this started.
Yes. Yeah. Well, all I know is right now there was 75,000 people in Holland taking part in it in a very,
let's go back to the summit now. So part of the summit is going to be about the environment and the ecological movement.
Yes.
So let's just put all that aside for a moment and let's just talk about what's the mechanics of the summit. It's going to be virtual. It's all going to take
It's
place
yeah.
online.
Most of it is a virtual summit, except for how we're mobilizing people with an app that they can download to perform an act in the name of Mother Nature, the Mother Earth. So we're aiming to mobilize people as quickly as possible to do this on the same day in different parts of the world, and then bring the people back.
Okay, so how is that mobilization taking place? There's going to be people, the virtual summit, there's going to be speakers, correct? And is there going to be technical information or scientific information or that disseminated through the summit, or is it just going to be speakers speaking of whatever their area of expertise is?
A little bit of both. So
Okay.
we have a day that will unite trauma healers together with refugee artists, and we will hear the stories of refugees while the trauma healers um, take those stories and open up their own conversations about trauma in different aspects of trauma, and healing it. This is also pointing back to the earth crisis that we're having, because what's going to happen in the near future, especially for the people we love, is that we're going to have many more refugeed people, and the droughts like there is in Madagascar right now. It's the first total drought.
Okay, so we're going to have people who are healers speaking. Are we going to have people who are experts on the refugee situation? Or
We're going to have, instead of having people who are experts on the refugee situation, we're having the refugees themselves,
okay.
and their stories, their artworks, and their own experience. Like we had on this show one time someone named Haitham Khatib, and he is an artist, and through the eyes and vision of an artist, we're trying to find another
perspective.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So like from an artist, you can really hear about what it was like to leave your home with the keys to your house in your pocket, knowing that you were never going to come back again, and then walk from one country to another country through the mountains, and how your feet would start feeling, and everything that happened along the way. You can really get a more sensorial, visceral.
So these people are going to be like testifying.
Yeah, testimonies.
They're going to be sharing their experience and what they went through.
Right.
And hopefully the people listening and participating can see something in that for themselves, and get in touch with what it is to be a human being these days in planet Earth.
And artists also, because it's all of this is also then on another level linked to an art project called Mitli Mitlak, like you, like me, and it is all of the artworks are born from testimonies of refugees. The texts were given to them, and they kind of fleshed out the text through their own art forms. And so the first day is kind of highlighting that. The second day would be healers and people who have created methods, the founders themselves of these methods, that are going to come and present each method. We have Reiki healers, people of the tapping technique, Kundalini, Tantra, desire mapping, and a couple of others that we're
So these are all people who are masters of different healing techniques.
who have generated a new method for techniques. Some of them are, I wouldn't say new, but they are very central. Like, of course, Kundalini is something very old and ancient. But I like the one, for example, that could really teach the public not only about these five chakras, but about like the 40 chakras that are here, the other chakras that are over here and over here. Just the complete scope of chakras that we have, and how in a very simple way to open these chakras and to cleanse, from energies that people have taken in, that from around them, and put them in touch with these masters that were really wanting to create these methods that anybody can do.
Is there going to be some kind of structure set up after the summit, so that people who tune in and participate, are they going to have ways to stay in touch with the people, or to continue this educational process?
Yes, because we will have on each speaker page, we will present a link to that speaker and their company, and people definitely will be able then to have an overview and choose the healer and method that they'd like to pursue. We also would like to intertwine with that up and coming healers and artists, and younger people who have healing methods and techniques, and they, just like in the biennales of art in different countries, we put them side by side with the central healers, the central artists and performers. They can have a space if they want, and so through that space they could become a sponsor, and then they would also be part of the catalog, and then we would drive a lot of traffic also to their websites, and the audience can also buy the whole summit after it takes place. And it's very good for them, because not only will they have their own audience, but they'll have the thousands of audience members from all the other speakers as well. So it really can generate a lot of good things for them.
Okay. When you take a break, you're watching Wjzz Cool TV, live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. You're here. I'm Ed Gardner, and this is Wjzz, and we're talking about a summit that's coming up in March, and Wjzz is producing it, among other things.
I think it's going to be in April.
April.
Yes, at the end of April. It's okay. We'll
My
let
apologies.
you know.
So it's in April. What dates?
It's the last week of April. The last week of April.
Okay. And it's all online. Is it going to be, it's just going to be on a weekend, or?
No, it's a 5-day summit.
5 days, and is it all day and into the evening?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So it's a pretty full schedule, full program.
Yes.
How many people do you anticipate will be presenting, speaking?
Between 30 and 40 people, maybe more.
Okay. And these are people come from all over the world?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's not only speakers, it's also performers, mixed into it as well. Performances, interviews with the artists, And then, as we were talking, the ecological activists that come into play, and the shamans and the shamanic performers and indigenous masters.
So there's going to be a lot of information for people who come.
Definitely.
I mean, I've been to like real, not virtual, non-virtual. We call it non-virtual, real life.
Mm-hmm. Like a festival.
Away from the keyboard events.
Mm-hmm.
I remember once back in the 70s, I went to a conference of yoga and esoteric sciences
Mm-hmm.
in Dallas, Texas. And I was a young filmmaker at the time, and I was going there to research the idea of doing a film about that, because at that time it was like the dawn of the new age thought process, and all of that was pretty unknown really across.
Yeah, in the 70s, I can imagine that was.
I mean, this was
totally
1975,
Mhm.
so it was pretty unknown.
Mhm.
But I met people, I met yogis, and I met firewalkers, and I met pyramid experts, and I
Mhm.
met, other filmmakers who were doing films about, communes. Findhorn is a commune in the north of Scotland.
Mhm.
They've been there since the 50s,
Mhm.
and they have gardens that they manage with the help of fairies.
Uh-huh.
And they have the most amazing gardens. And
Uh-huh.
the London Horticultural Society, which is probably 200-300 years old, regularly takes people to see that garden.
Mhm.
So there were all these different kinds of people, and I was, a young, wide-eyed
Mhm.
future acolyte.
Yes.
And I met all these people, and I had but the best thing about it was being able to have conversations with people outside of the lecture rooms,
Mhm.
and to hang out and eat with people and meet them and get to
Mhm.
know them.
Mhm.
And I met people there at that event that I still know them, some of them,
Mhm.
And so will there be that kind of opportunity with the summit where people can socialize?
I really like what you've just described, and I think it's an important thing. I'm kind of flashing on the 2020 lockdown and how when everything turned virtual, and I was at that moment introduced into the ecological movement, Extinction Rebellion, and though there were summits and trainings and all kinds of things, it's kind of like it was very social at the same time. So I think it would be very interesting to develop these social rooms where people can hang out in. Definitely, I really like that idea. So I think
Is there a social media part of the app that's going to be part of the summit? I mean, is there people can register beforehand and see who else is coming and reach out
there
to
would
people?
yes, absolutely. Yes, there will be for the summit. There will be, and for the app, what people are talking about, the developers. I don't know if we'll have that ready for the summit or if it will come afterwards. But actually, people having the possibility for people to do a certain act and also putting it on social media
So
as
the
part of
the app's primarily going to be focused on the ecological movement.
Ecological but spiritual at the same time, because it's not. I don't want it to I don't want to exclude people who are just on another wavelength, So it's really an act in the name of Mother Earth. If that means for someone to hold signs up and go outside, there's that possibility. If it means for someone to sit in the street until they're arrested, that's a possibility. If it means to just do a libation for the earth with a group of people and do a mantra, then that's a possibility. If it means creating flags with Reiki symbols on it and doing Reiki at that moment, that's a part of it. So if it means just walking outside and standing, or if it means doing dance in the street or.
So what you're saying is that people would do whatever they do.
Well, we're working on helping them decide what would be the best thing for them to do.
Will there be organized actions that will be organized
beforehand
and within the summit?
Yeah, because the ecological movements have chapters in many different countries, and so it would be a thing of them developing a few things for this event, beforehand. It's not just, hey, download the app and walk outside.
Global by virtual of the fact that it's virtual, and the organization you're speaking of, what organization is that?
I don't want to say the name right now, but there are three organizations, and one of them is very connected to the youth, and one of them is very connected to the oceans, and one of them is very connected to the climate change theme.
Any idea when they will be announced?
I think within the next 3 weeks.
Okay. Cool. So we'll know more about that soon. So, healing, art, ecological. Anything else?
Healing, art, ecological, and shamanistic.
And
shamanistic.
Shamanic. That comes under healing, though. At least in my mind, it does.
Healers are. Speaking to healers is very different from speaking to artists, and speaking to ecological activists is very different from speaking with healers or artists as well. So it's not often that all of these people can create a space.
And yet there's probably, in reality, a lot of overlap. Because people who are into shamanism tend to also be into healing, and they love the earth.
Yes, absolutely. That, yes, definitely.
So it's really, when you think about human beings and what they're interested in, it's the same group of people that's interested in all those areas.
But
for the most
I
part.
think in society we're kind of categorized, and it takes a moment for someone to step out of their respective category, So there is that step that has to be made, to get there. But this is a healing temple, a theater, a museum, and all at once, and it has to have that that beauty to it.
Is Detroit going to be featured?
Very good question. Yeah, because talks are now on Detroit very much. So what we're thinking about, which I think is a very good idea, is to have all of the American artists actually come from Detroit itself. So Detroit would be representing the United States, and then the other performers and artists would be coming from other parts of the world, and probably the Mediterranean, because the company is Mediterranean Fire, and we've been focused on the Mediterranean for different reasons, if you could say reasons. And so Detroit has its own, it's a question really of unearthing, elements of Detroit which are so, vibrant, that should be, that the world should see. and I would be, I mean, I'm doing my own research and I'm, you know, speaking with the committee and everything, but I would be interested to, you know, to know, like when I describe that, what other people would think, you know, if anybody has any, you know, ideas or suggestions or thinks that some artistic entity or person or group in Detroit would be really wonderful asset to this summit and to, you know, please write it in the comments section, or send us a message or call us or do something. Then we would actually look into it, and it would, you know, it would be great. Or if you're artists as well, and you would like to be considered for any of this, also please contact us.
You're watching Wjzz Cool TV live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. I am reading this from a cue sheet, by the way. Like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching Wjzz Cool TV. So we're here, Biba and I.
Mm-hmm.
Normally we're interviewing other people, so if you just tuned in, today we don't have our pre-scheduled guest. So we're having a conversation about a summit that Biba is putting together that's going to be focused on the ecological environment and what's happening in the world right now, and bringing artists and healers and shamans to the table to create a mix of energy that
Mm-hmm.
might be able to make a difference.
Mm-hmm. I
So,
think, yes.
what else?
What else? I think I was talking to you previously, and we were talking about the importance of preparing people with different techniques to be able to take action and to be able to, you could say, reframe their lives, and also not only people, but for all beings. You know, it's not only a democracy for humans, but it's also a democracy of species for every living thing.
Their consciousness demands that all beings have equal rights, the right to live,
Mm-hmm.
whatever their state of being is. A rock has the right to be a rock.
Mm-hmm. And a deer wants to be alive and in this space and place that's, you know, called life, and to take life away from that deer is that you are deciding that deer is not going to be here in this thing we call life anymore. And why can't he be here? I think, you know, it's just not it's beyond words. I mean, to take that away from a being is really, it's inhuman.
Well, and you know, it's about separation versus being all one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for me anyway, I'm real clear we're all one.
Mm-hmm.
There is no separation.
Mhm.
Everything is one.
Mm-hmm.
And to the degree that we, you know, it's so funny. I'm reading a book right now about reality by a quantum physicist, Donald Hoffman.
Okay.
And he writes that evolution, our evolution of us as human beings, we've evolved to not see, we don't see reality. We see a shortened version of it. And that in life, like in the evolution of a human species, the people who see what's really around us, they don't make it. It's not evolutionarily useful for them to have that level of perception.
Mm-hmm.
And so he argues that it's like the Matrix, you know, are you seeing the pixels, or are you seeing the steak?
Right. It's going also from, like, seeing the pixels would be ontological, and into reality, hotel reality would be ontical, and I think it's possible to go into the ontical, the realities, that there are many different realities, and then to be able to step back into the ontological, and which is the difference between existence and reality. um, there's this very strong way of doing that. I learned it at a young age when I was like 19 from someone who I consider my mentor and who introduced me to a lot of very important American artists who were living in Paris at the time, and because I was living there also. People like Brian Geisen and William Burroughs, and all of that group of people that was in Paris during its years of high energy. It's a very powerful thing. It's when you go to sleep at night, ask yourself, what did I do today that really mattered, that was really important, that was that really meant anything, that mattered the most. Just doing that is it just, I don't know what it does, but I mean, I can say that I haven't done it in a while, but I remember doing it when I was younger and taking it very seriously, and it would put me in that ontological state, and it would really make me see the depth of every day, what really mattered today.
But that's an evocative interaction. You're the one creating the meaning. You're basically labeling your actions of the day and saying
you could be labeling
that was
it
meaningful.
Could be a relation.
No, but I'm not saying
self.
labeling in a negative way. Mm-hmm. I'm saying that it's in language that meaning occurs.
It could be in images.
Naming it.
It's not really naming. It's a relation that relates to itself. It's I don't know. I don't think it's just you're labeling and thinking. It's not in the mind. It's something. It's something else. It's like you have to, in a way, evoke the memory, but it's not like a memory from long ago. It's like from today. So it's very lucid. It's almost like a dream of the day. You have to go through the day somehow, and everything about it, and then and what you discover, because you discover something that you were maybe unconscious of, or you weren't aware of at the time. Like, a lot of things have happened today. Like, if I go home now and when I go to sleep and I ask what really mattered today, right now I don't even know what it would be. I would have to discover it,
Right. But in the discovery, it's like Schrodinger's cat.
Mm-hmm.
The observer is the one who creates the cat being alive or dead.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
That's what you're doing with meaning. Meaning doesn't exist until somebody says, oh, that means something.
Mm-hmm.
There's no meaning outside of the human perception of meaning.
Mm-hmm.
The meaning is created by the speaker as their, and that doesn't diminish the value of meaning. It's still meaningful, and we can't help ourselves. We create meaning. That's what we do.
The search for meaning. It's also the search for meaning, related again to a process that goes hand in hand with this, you could say, exercise or whatever you want to call it. It's like a mantra. If you search for the meaning all the time, in the space, wherever you go, whenever you walk into a place, whenever you're walking down the street, searching for meaning, it's almost like you'll find the center of the space in order to find it. It's like you're finding your center, but at the same time you're finding the center of the space that you're in as you're searching for the meaning. And the meaning is something that includes, time and space and all the people that are in it and all the sounds and everything happening in all at once, which also reminds me of an exercise of William Burroughs for writing, to actually, while you're writing, to listen to everything that's happening around you, like as you're seeing. So you're seeing and you're hearing at the same time. A lot of people can't hear and see at the same time. They either see or they hear or they touch. So as this person is walking by, another person is laughing hysterically as something is happening out the window, as then I have a thought at that moment. So all of that has a oneness to it in the space. And it, for me, it's this word which people also abuse a lot. It's a very abused word, which is drama. Okay, poetry in the space, which is drama. It comes from that.
Cool. You're watching WJGZ, live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Hey, last week we had a show where we asked people to call in. We had Satori Shakur on, and she was just dying to interact with people. And I know there's people out there that watch this show, so what do we have to do to get you to call in? Not necessarily right at this moment, but ongoing. Mm-hmm. We would like to interact with people, not just be talking to you all the time. Mm-hmm. So think about that. Send us a comment. Send us an email. Let us know what we can do to facilitate that.
Yeah.
So what are we missing on the summit? What else is there about it that you want people to know about?
Let me see.
What would let me look at it this way.
The book?
At the end of the 5 days,
mm-hmm.
how will you know it was a successful summit?
That people would have lived something that they've never lived before, that something within them would have
You could say that about
changed.
every day. What specifically?
That they'll remember for the rest of their life, that they will discover, they will find an opening, that they'll discover.
Is there a call to action for people?
It's a call to action, but it's not that kind of call to action that's like that, because a call to action is not convenient, is not what some people want. Some people do want it, but other people, just the sound of it makes them tired.
You want people to leave feeling empowered, like in the sense that they can make a difference?
First of all, in order for them, to feel empowered and that they can make a difference, then they're going to have to feel good within themselves. So I want them to feel luminous, and I want them to feel freed through, and that and that they can imagine something, and through that imaginative power they can create something, and that there are other people there. I want them to find their creativity and their creative abilities in order to heal themselves, so that they can love and reciprocate the earth's embrace, and that they could create also in that social sculpture meaning for the younger people, and for the animals, for the beings, for themselves, to find themselves in an ontological state, strong enough to have references to know that a lot of people have been walking around searching for meaning, that a lot of people have been dedicated to going from the ontical to the ontological, stepping out of the categories of society in order to I hate to say serve a greater cause, because people will then think of, like, now again another category, like, you know, but yes, to not to be freed, and to give them a network of people to go outside with, and to perform and act in the name of Mother Earth, so we can see what that leads to. It's a mysterious process. We don't know what's going to happen, and we don't want it to be a cliche, or we don't want it to be only a call to action that's like banging on a door, like we don't know.
Well, a call to action doesn't necessarily mean a particular type of action.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, hey, you were here for 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
Take it out in the world. Take
Like,
it back to your
yeah,
life.
absolutely.
Make a difference.
Yeah, I mean,
whatever that is
even,
for you.
even like
It might be writing a
simple,
song. It might
absolutely,
be
as simple as understanding what foods have chemicals in them and what foods don't have chemicals in them. How to eat everything without eating chemicals in one day. You know, how to know where the chakras are, and how to put my hand in the right place, and to say a certain thing that opens the chakras, and to know that these chakras are what protects me. They are defending me, these chakras. To know that this right side of my shoulder is my sovereignty. It's like the queen or king of yourself, you know, and that the left side chakra is where grace is. Just to know these little things, so that when you have a pain in your right shoulder, you can relate it to that sovereignty, or when you're in a situation of fear, that you'll know that these chakras are working very hard right now to scope out the space and defend you, to know that for this thing they call enlightenment, where this chakra opens up, you have to first open this chakra, which has 2 energy channels crossed right here, that opens only if we have forgiven every single person that we have to forgive in our lifetime. Not for everyone to reach enlightenment, but at least to give people an answer to understand, okay, I can forgive that person for what they did. That doesn't mean that I have to see them again, but I can forgive them just for myself, because what does it do if I'm sitting here angry? They're sleeping comfortably over there. Being
angry at another human being is like drinking poison and waiting for them to die.
Yes.
People.
Yes. And then the voice, understanding, yes. I mean, to be in touch with something you hear about all the time, like Reiki, to really understand more about it and to experience it. A lot of people these days are tapping. I've only done the tapping technique like once or twice, you know, and it's a big mystery, and it's an amazing thing, you know. And I think it's important. There's some people, so everybody will find some resources for themselves, and that can change a lot. That will give them clarity, that will center their energy, that will provide them with what they need to heal from illnesses, to find themselves, and to find another voice within themselves that they didn't know existed. And also through the arts,
So
mhm.
we have 10 minutes left. How can people find out more about the summit?
Well,
How do they sign up for it?
there's going to it'll be announced to the public as soon as we complete the 5 day platforms. We're still in the process of building everything up with the summit management, and we are, because it's a virtual event, we have to finish interviewing all of the speakers and get everything ready. And but if there's anybody who wants me to put them on a list who is listening to this interview, you can go to Mediterranean Fire Facebook, Mediterranean Fire, and you can send me a message. You can always, on any of the comments of our shows, you can say, "Hi, I'm interested in the summit. Could you PM me?" And I will definitely get back to you. You can call the station and leave a message. And for those people who do that, we will have early bird prices as well. And so, because we're still now in pre-production, but don't hesitate to reserve your place. And if we can answer any questions for you, or if you have any suggestions for the Detroit.
What if people want to help out, or what if they want to be speakers?
That too, just right now we're in pre-production. I don't know where you are, so please find us either through the comments or through the telephone number of WJZZ, or through the Mediterranean Fire Facebook, which has a lot of artwork on it. And there we will definitely love to have a conversation with you and to discover your artwork, and any comments that you have.
But you're listening to Creative Chronicles. I'm Ed Gardner. This is Wjzz Sheik. We're here every week, Monday, 8 p.m., and you can find past shows on YouTube. We really appreciate you tuning in. Thank you.
Thank you.